At a recent Catholic business organization gathering, the group heard the story of Jimmy Lai, a nationally known Catholic Chinese billionaire who has been imprisoned for standing on the values that are rooted in his faith. Nick Morganelli shares the story.
Local Catholic business leaders began their January meeting at Sacred Heart Church for a Mass celebrated by Monsignor Chris Connolly, spiritual director to the CBO.
May He give you integrity in the faith, endurance in hope, and perseverance in charity with holy patience to the end. Amen.
The keynote speaker for the evening, Mark Simon, joined the group for Mass. He worked in Hong Kong as an executive with Next Digital for 20 years. He is now senior executive for investments and businesses outside of Hong Kong for Jimmy Lai, who is now accused of crimes by the Chinese Communist Party.
My main role in life is to get Jimmy Lai out of prison. He has been arrested. He's charged with national security charges, among other things, in Hong Kong for running a pro-democracy newspaper and protecting freedom of the press.
British gave us all the institutions of freedom. The rule of law, the human right, the free speech, the free market.
Lai went to Hong Kong as a teenager in 1960, where he worked in a factory. With his natural entrepreneurial spirit, he eventually started his own business.
I started a very small factory, and eventually we became one of the biggest sweater factory in Hong Kong.
He became a garment king. In other words, Jimmy, if you went to J.C. Penney in the 1970s and 1980s, you were probably buying some goods that were made by Jimmy Lai.
Hong Kong was under British rule for 156 years until 1997. Democracy was rising in the 80s and 90s, especially through those of the Catholic faith. Lai's business interests turned to free press and the development of Next Digital and a newspaper.
Apple Daily became the largest newspaper in Hong Kong and the beacon for freedom.
Becoming Catholic as an adult, Jimmy Lai's faith was a driving force in his quest for freedom for the people of Hong Kong.
His first marriage fell apart. He has 3 wonderful children from it. I like them all. And he met a woman, Teresa. Teresa's from a devout Catholic family. And Jimmy basically started to be surrounded by people who were Catholic.
Leaders are readers, and Jimmy was no different in his pursuit of the Catholic faith.
Jimmy's world of Catholicism has been quite an intellectual journey for him. It's this Catholicism that I see inside Jimmy that basically, when he started being a leader in the democracy movement, grounded him to the people. Cardinal Zen said when he was seeing Jimmy for the first couple of years, he said, I used to have to go brush up on my theology because what Jimmy would read, he'd ask me all these questions. And probably around 2018 or 19, Jimmy's faith starting to really become part of his intellectual thought process.
And soon after that, the Chinese government shut down his businesses, seized the assets, and arrested Lai.
The problem, you're dealing with people who are too
Michael O'Reilly, with a background as an investigator, appreciated Mark Simon's presentation.
It was a fascinating presentation. Mark did a great job. It's remarkable that he was able to produce the newspaper and produce the free press and media all the way through 2019, strongly believes in the Catholic faith, and that's what's pulling him through. At the age of 77, he's still surviving because of his belief.
Many are advocating for the Chinese Communist Party to release Jimmy Lai, who is one of perhaps 2,000 political prisoners in Hong Kong. Along with news media worldwide, his son Sebastian is a global voice for his release as well.
My ultimate goal is to see my father free before he dies.
Recently, EWTN featured his story.
In an interview before the November 5th presidential election, Trump told a podcast host that he would 100% get Jimmy Lai out of Hong Kong.
If he dies in prison, he becomes a symbol to people in Hong Kong, and that's the last thing that they want. I think that Xi Jinping is probably in the mood to accommodate President Trump's request. And should he press this issue with Jimmy Lai, which I'm sure that he will, Jimmy Lai will be freed.
We can hope and pray that the members of Congress who have advocated for his release over the past 4 years, along with the president and his administration, can make his release a reality. Praying for the freedom for this faithful Catholic. For Real to Real, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And Nick tells us that the Catholic Business Organization will host the founder of the #1 Catholic prayer app, Hallow. Look for that story later on this spring.